Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a really cute, simple Tunisian crochet envelope. We're just going to be using the Tunisian simple stitch. We create a rectangle. It can be customized to any size that you need, and once you work it to that desired size, we just fold it, add a button, seam up the sides, and you have a little envelope. These are perfect to use for gift cards or little stocking stuffers. You can hang these on the tree by creating a little chain hanger to put a gift in, hanging on the tree. I love to use them as little advent envelopes for an advent garland. They're quick, easy to work up, and they're super cute. So for this project, you will need either a Tunisian crochet hook in whatever size that you want. I am just going to be using this regular crochet hook in a 5.5 millimeter. You'll need a button and any size yarn. So I've got my variegated, sort of Christmassy yarn and just a regular green yarn. You'll need a yarn needle to weave in your ends and scissors. Once you have all that together, we can get started. To start, use a foundation chain of any number. So I like to just work some chains, see how long it is, work some more chains, see how long it is. This is going to be the width of your envelope. Once you have a chain length that you're happy for the width of your envelope, we're going to work the Tunisian simple stitch. So to do the Tunisian simple stitch, we are going to work into every stitch, pulling up a loop. So each chain you bring up a loop and you will have loops remaining on your hook. So you just work down the chain, going into each chain, yarning over, pulling up that loop. Once you get to the end, you can count the number of loops that you have on your hook. Should be the same number that you chained to start. That is called the forward pass. To complete one row of Tunisian crochet, you need to have a forward pass and a reverse pass. The reverse pass, we are going to yarn over, go back through one stitch, one loop on your hook. And then we're going to yarn over and pull back through two. Yarn over, pull back through two, yarn over, pull back through two, all the way down for the reverse pass. When you get back to the beginning, you'll have one loop on your hook. We have these bars here all along this part of our work. We want to insert the hook into that bar, yarn over, drop a loop. And we're going to keep doing that all the way back down our work here. So insert, yarn over, drop a loop, and you can see we keep all of those loops on our hook as we're working this way. At the end, you always want to work into the very last bar, which can be hidden. It's hard to see. You want to work into that bar and try to grab the bar right behind. So you want to grab that whole stitch. So you'll actually have two loops here at the end on your hook. Yarn over and just go through both of those to finish that forward pass. Every reverse pass is exactly the same. Yarn over, pull back through one, yarn over, back through two, yarn over, back through two, yarn over, back through two, all the way back down for the reverse pass. And I'm back down and I have one loop on my hook And I've worked 2 rows now of the Tunisian simple stitch. We're going to do the same thing. Now you want to ignore this first bar here. This loop on your hook corresponds to that bar, that first bar. So we're going to work into the next bar, pull up a loop, and sew on all the way back down. When you're at the end, don't forget to work into that very end bar and try to grab the entire stitch on the end. And there's a forward pass. Reverse pass, yarn over back through 1, and then yarn over back through 2 for the remaining loops on your hook. Now I have stopped here with 2 loops on my hook. If you want to change colors, this is where you would stop. I'm going to place my new color over my hook and pull back through those last 2, and I have now changed color. And now I can continue on just as I had before, working under those bars with my new yarn. And this is the pattern. So you would just work your forward and reverse passes until you get the height that you want. Now remember, with your envelope, you're going to fold the work over. So you need a long enough height. I'm going to keep working this and I will show you what I mean. So I have worked a number of rows in the Tunisian simple stitch, and just look at how that variegated yarn worked up. I just love doing these kind of projects, especially with odd yarn, because you really get to see what that pattern might look like. And since these are just sort of scrap fun envelopes, it really just adds to the project. So once you have worked a number of rows that you're happy with, I like to always turn it over, fold it up from the bottom, and then down, and that will give you the size of the envelope. So you just keep working until you have the size, once it is folded, of the envelope that you want. So to finish off, we are just going to work slip stitches. So I'm going to work into that bar as normal, pull up a loop, and pull through. So you're not going to be holding loops on your hook anymore. Go through the bar, pull a loop through, and through the one on your hook, and then you always just have one loop on your hook. And I like to work mine fairly loosely, so don't be super tight with these slip stitches. Just go very loosely all the way through till you get to the end. Now I've worked through that last bar. Don't forget the one on the very end, and I'm going to go through both of those stitches again and just slip stitch. And now you've created a sort of fastening off of the Tunisian simple stitch. I'm going to take a moment to weave in these ends. I'm going to fold it up again just so you guys can see what it'll look like. I'm going to go ahead, weave in my ends, and then I will show you how to easily just whip stitch these side seams. We'll add a little loop, sew on our button, and we will have a little Tunisian crochet envelope. Alright, I've taken care of all of my ends. You can tell Tunisian crochet wants to kind of curl up, which is kind of helpful for this project, but if you do find it easier to work with a flatter fabric, you can always go ahead and block this out a little bit. So I'm going to turn, so here's the back of my work. I want the front facing down, and I'm just going to fold that envelope, the bottom part up, and you can always adjust it. So if you want it to be taller with a smaller envelope lid, you can just adjust it to however you want your envelope to be. Pinch those two sides together. I've cut a separate piece of yarn here so I can weave in back and forth, and you can start on either end however it's comfortable. You can seam these sides up in whatever method that you prefer, however you want to do it. Because I am just sort of making these as little scrap envelopes for an advent calendar, I want them to be a little bit imperfect. So I am just going to go in through both stitches on the bottom. I'm going to leave a tail so I can weave that in after. And I'm just going to kind of whip stitch this. So I'm always going to put my hook in from this end. I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm going to always kind of pull this yarn towards me, find the next set of stitches that I want to work in, and just go through both. Pull that yarn back towards me, find the next set of stitches, I'm pulling a little bit snug, not super snug. I don't want to warp my work in any way, but just enough to kind of close up this seam. I'm going to go into the top one now. And I have just quickly seamed up that side. I'm going to now weave in my tails in the inside so I can flip that around and weave that in. Weave this tail in, and I'm going to work the same way on this side. So I'm going to go ahead, finish weaving in my tails for this seam, and then I'm going to seam up this side, and then we'll take a look at the next steps. I have seamed up the sides on my little envelope. So at this point we need to get our little envelope lid closed. There are two ways that we can do this. So we're going to add a button somewhere down here. First, you need to decide how you want your button hook to be. I'm going to show you how to just work a chain in the center of this very first row that we did. You can easily just take yarn and sew in one of these stitches around a couple times, measure where your button is going to be, and I suggest putting your button on first if that's what you're going to do, because then you can adjust that length. And what you're going to do is just use a piece of yarn, sew it on here, let it sort of swing down, and then sew it back up there. And of course it's going to be tighter depending on where your button lies on your envelope. So that's one option. I'm going to show you how to go ahead and crochet a chain right in the middle, and then we'll put our button on, and then we'll have a nice little envelope. So you're going to want to grab your hook. So you're going to start with a slip knot on your hook, and you're just going to find the middle of your work. So you can do this specific, you can count your stitches over and find the exact middle. I am just going to guess and just put my hook in. And slip stitch through. I'm going to chain 6 And now I'm going to bring it down and just make sure, depending on the size of button that you have, make sure that this loop will get around this button. So if you have a larger button, chain a few more. If you have a smaller button, you don't need as many chains here. And then back on your work, I'm going to skip a stitch and go into the next and just slip stitch. And then I can fasten off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave these ends in so they don't get in my way. I'll be right back. In the meantime, grab a button, grab a yarn needle. Make sure that the yarn needle, if you have one that has these eyes, make sure that the eye of the needle can go easily through, otherwise it will be a struggle and impossible. And the final step. You want a nice size piece of yarn, and like I said before, make sure that your needle will go through those buttonholes. So I'm going to place this on where I kind of want it. Fold this down, make sure that the loop for that button hook will reach and will go around your button. So that's about right. Place it on there. I'm going to go in from the back and just try to get into one of those buttonholes. Pull my yarn. I'm going to leave a long tail, and then I want to go diagonal. So if you go into this one, I want to get into the diagonal hole. And then pull it from the back, and you've got something like this. Now I want to go in from the back and come up in one of these unused buttonholes. And now I want to go into the last one here. Now, if you feel like that is secure enough, then go ahead and knot these two ends and weave them in on the back. I sometimes like to go through at least one more. So I'm going to find the first one that I went up into, go back through it, and then do the diagonal one, go through that one, and now it's just a little bit more secure. Now I'm going to go ahead, tie these a few times, knot them in the back to secure it, and weave in my ends. Alright, I've done that. I'm going to fold it down and button it up, and now we've got a cute little Tunisian crocheted envelope. So you can see you can make this out of any kind of yarn. It's fun to play around with this variegated. You get such kind of wacky looking patterns with them. But it's really super fun, super cool. This is a super easy beginner Tunisian crochet project. And if you make a whole bunch of these, you can hang them up into a garland, an advent garland. You can make them for gift card holders. You can make them any size. If you wanted to make a very large one, you could do that as well. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy Tunisian crocheting. Bye!